Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast from the attraction entertainment community. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain old aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And we return to you this week, A, after forgetting to fucking hit record 3 times, and B, after way too many weeks away.
Yeah.
We're very, very sorry, everyone. I know you missed us, but it's been kind of a crazy couple of weeks on our side. Mm-hmm. First, we went to Haunters Can Take the event in Lexington, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Had a good time. Unfortunately, we brought back the worst souvenir ever. At least our household did. Yeah. As COVID found its way into our home pretty much immediately after. I had bounced to go to Houston to testify in a trial. Mm-hmm. But I ended up just spending 48 hours quarantined in a Houston hotel room, trying to, because I was basically considered a COVID risk and I couldn't testify in person now because we discovered the exposure. Then I came home. Then I got COVID.
Yeah.
And then I had to testify pretty much on peak COVID symptom day via Zoom.
Yeah. 0
stars. Do not recommend this order of operations.
No.
I'm going to leave a very bad Yelp review on COVID's page.
Yeah, that seems appropriate.
I mean, it wasn't the worst sick I've ever had.
No.
But it was not pleasant. And it's still a little linger. I still have a little congestion, a little tickle in my throat. But we're all testing negative now here. Mm-hmm. Thank God. We have enough used COVID tests, I think, to re-brick the house if we need to.
Yeah.
But regardless, we are fine, we are well, we're doing better, and we wanted to come back because it's an episode divisible by 4. That means it's time to do
the news.
And so please do take a moment, if you have not done so already, find us and follow us at all the lovely places we exist. We're on hauntweekly.com, we're Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, YouTube.com/HauntWeekly is the YouTube channel. A great way to access the entire archive of the podcast. Mm-hmm. They go up there at the same time. You can also find us wherever you get your podcast from, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and you can also, once again, we've been trying to get back on track here, but once a month we're trying to do live recordings. Mm-hmm. Follow us at Facebook.com/HauntWeekly. That's where we do them. And so, yeah, follow us there, and we will let you know when the next one is. We're trying to do one a month, but this month has gotten totally off the fucking rails, and that's not our fault.
Yeah, we were not able to spend an hour talking to anybody. Even not each other.
Yeah, we didn't even talk to each other for an hour at any point over the past
2 weeks, yeah.
The most we did, I think, together in the same room was watch TV and movies.
Play games.
Yeah, we have not sat there and talked like adults are supposed to do from time to time. Yeah. But anyways, like I said, we are feeling significantly better. We are happy to be close-ish to normal. Mm-hmm. Like I said, some lingering symptoms. But anyways, first thing is first, we do have to do the question of the week. We haven't had one of these in a while.
Right, and speaking of trying to get guests on every month,
yeah.
Who do you want us to interview? That's the question of the week.
Now, obviously you want us to interview Japes. Yeah. We get it. Japes is an amazing interview, and we are overdue for a Japes episode. Yeah. I will agree. But come on, we need some new names, man. We need some new names. We need some connections.
Yeah.
Help us out, man.
Yeah.
Hook us up.
And basically, the requirements are you have to be in the haunt industry, and you have to have a topic that you want to talk about.
Yeah, and it has to be
specialty in the field.
Even if it's something we've discussed before.
Yeah.
Obviously, bringing someone new would bring a different perspective. And obviously, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Also, special, I would love to hear from more women in haunting. We have the Women in Haunting series. And also LGBTQ as well as, people of color haunters, too.
Yes.
I want to get more people that fit those different collections because, we tend to be a very white male-dominated industry. Uh-huh. We want to give a platform to anyone with interesting shit to talk about, honestly.
Yeah.
We're not really that picky, but yeah, it'd be really cool if we could give a platform to those voices.
Yes.
I think that's reasonable.
Yes, we fight for equality and inclusiveness here.
We do. All right. A heads up, we're not doing conference reminders this week. The reason is I'm going to completely scrap how we've been doing them.
Okay.
Because the system we've been doing them with sucks. I've just decided it worked. it actually worked reasonably well pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. But once everything got knocked cattywampus by the pandemic. The system just fell the fuck apart.
Yeah, and basically everything that we've been announcing lately has happened.
Yeah.
So
we got a little respite here before
Yeah.
we really need to do conference reminders. Right now, Midsummer Scream is ongoing, I think literally as we're talking.
Yes.
I was watching a little live thing. They were doing a slider demo there. It looked pretty cool. But yeah.
And there was the one in Georgia this weekend.
Yes,
too.
there was. The camping one.
No.
Wasn't it?
No.
That doesn't matter.
It was something else.
But I'll figure it out later. But yeah, no, there are a lot of great conventions, and we want to get this right. So I'm developing a new system for us to actually, get these correct. It's not going to be too complicated because that's what I do. Not complicated, but hey, it's going to be fun. And it's going to be really interesting. And hopefully it'll stop every time we do conference reminder, someone tapping us on the shoulder. Actually, this information's wrong.
Yeah.
And the problem is the system we have makes it possible to be wrong multiple times.
Yeah.
So we're going to fix that. We got a plan, or I do at least, that's going to fix it and stop it, and we'll be able to move on. All right. I do want to spend a minute real fast, though, talking about one of the last things we discussed, because the last episode we recorded was about Hunters Against Hate, the event.
Yes, right before we got sick.
Right before I had to bounce to Houston, right before we got sick, and right before the fucking universe went sideways for us. Yeah, great times. Great times. I remember this.
Yeah.
Some of it, at least.
Anyway.
But anyways, I want to have a quick chat about Wicked World Scarygrounds, because we talked about our visit there.
Yes.
And I want to apologize to the actor behind Pennywise there. I misgendered them.
Yeah.
It was an innocent mistake. Meant nothing by it at all. But it does raise an interesting question. The reason I misgendered them was because I was looking at the gender of the character. Which, that's not necessarily going to be the same. There's a whole conversation in the haunt industry about not presuming the gender of an actor based upon a character.
Right.
But then I went down a rabbit hole trying to figure out what Pennywise's gender actually is.
And then
That did not go well.
No.
Here's the thing. Basically, from what I've read, and I've read way more than I should have, at least this wasn't my deepest rabbit hole I've gone down, the entity, does not have an established gender.
They are a demon, right?
It's a demon dark force. It's never really fully explained, if I can recall. It's been a while since I've had anything to do with the books, and I didn't watch the reboot movies. But basically, it's never explained what the gender, even though the name it, presents as male whenever it presents. That's no guarantee at all that that's the gender of it. And this is so confusing because it sounds like I'm being so offensive calling a person it, but I'm calling it.
Right.
Ugh, this stuff's hard. But yeah, so thank you very much for the gentle correction. And they also informed us about something else on that trip.
Right.
And this is the real meat of it, is apparently all of the copyrighted characters came out for this event.
Yes. And they had promoted it that way on their social media. We did not see it at the conference, but on the social media, the fans who showed up knew that there were going to be not the same show that they would get in October, and it had the copyright.
And and in terms of for the longtime fans, that makes a degree of sense.
Yeah.
Because they've probably seen the regular show. The problem I have, and this is a humble request, is if you are ever fortunate enough to open your haunt for a haunt conference, which we've done.
Yeah.
We did a lights on tour though. If you've ever been lucky enough to do that, and I hope every haunter gets the chance because it is a lot of fun. I really do. I'd like to make a request that you try to make it as close to your regular show as you can.
Yeah.
I know that's not always possible, especially in these summer and mid-season conferences, but I have two reasons for this. I have one reason for this, and that reason is most of the conference goers visiting will never be back at your haunt. And it's nothing bad about you.
Right.
Either A, they're actors/haunt owners who are a little bit busy when you're open.
A little bit.
A little bit busy.
Yeah.
Or they're people who live extremely far away.
Right.
And just will never get there. We'll never be in Lexington, Kentucky during Halloween season, odds are.
No.
It would be it's highly unlikely. Never say never. Always a possibility. I mean, I ended up in Lexington this summer, so who knows? Shit happens. But I'm probably never going to see that haunt during their actual run. And that includes now the fact that I went to their haunt at a special event at the conference. I've still not seen the actual haunt during the run.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a little frustrating because one of the things we do get is people contact us and say, hey, I'm visiting blah, blah, blah town. Mm-hmm. And usually ask us about towns close to us that we might actually know something about. But I do get here, people do ask us about towns. They're like, why the fuck would I know anything about that town? Mm-hmm. So it's not unfeasible. Someone could be asking me about Northern Kentucky haunts. And now I have to say, well, I did go to Wicked World Scarygrounds, but the show I saw was apparently not representative.
Right.
In any way.
Yes. The actors were good. Go for the actors.
Yeah, the actors were good. And their Slider character that had run in the queue line was very, very talented at invading people's personal space and not knocking them over. Mm-hmm. That person was amazing at that. And like I said, the actor, and we gave all the praise to our Pennywise, even though we're not fans of copyrighted characters and haunts. Yeah. We did give a ton of praise to the actor playing Pennywise, because if you're going to do Pennywise, knock that shit out of the park, and they did. Yeah. That was the best Pennywise I've seen in a haunt. Hands down. Still not happy about copyrighted characters, but damn, if you're going to do it, that's how you do it. Yeah. Just saying. But anyways, that's all the intro stuff for right now. As I mentioned previously, it is an episode of Visible 4. It is time to do the news. And we've got a lot of news for a midsummer episode. And we're going to kick things off with an article from the Portsmouth Daily Times in Ohio about a very important crisis that seems to be happening in that region right now, at least important to our industry. Yes. Crystal.
Well, so basically the title is Saving Easter Hunt and Santa. I don't know why they didn't include the haunted house in the title. But anyway, this is for the Portsmouth Daily Times. The oldest chapter of the Jaycees that was founded in 1939 is closing in that area because of low membership.
And for those playing along at home that need some imagery in their head, this is an area a little bit west of Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. A little bit east of Cincinnati. My apologies. Nobody eats shredded wheat, Jonathan. Just remember. Jesus, it's not that hard.
Never eat sour watermelons.
I would eat a sour watermelon. Sounds pretty fucking good. Sounds way better than shredded wheat. But anyways.
Basically, they have 2 weeks to get their membership numbers up. And that includes anybody between the ages of 18 to 40 that lives in the
counties of...
counties of Scioto, Adams, Pike, or Lawrence.
You were about to call them parishes. I knew what exactly was breaking in your brain.
No, it was the pronunciation of that first one.
Scioto, yeah, I think it's Scioto. And the thing is, these guys, this group here holds a lot of attractions. They hold Easter egg hunt, a trout derby, where the fuck that is.
It's a fishing tournament.
Then why not just call it a fishing tournament?
Because it's a trout derby.
It's a fucking fishing tournament.
But it's specifically about trout.
Then fine, call it a trout fishing tournament. What the fuck you want out of me? It's not like they're racing trout around a dirt track while wearing funny hats.
Well, no, the fish would die on a dirt track. You'd have to put them in the water.
They have a Christmas parade, and the haunted house is by far their largest attraction. I could not find anywhere how long the haunted house has been around. Mm-mm. But the Jaycee, this organization, the Jaycee, has been around since 1939. And look, there is a sort of an underground culture in our haunt industry right now of haunts that have been around longer than 40 or 50 years. Yeah. And it's very likely this haunt is a member of that number. Mm-hmm. Almost certainly, I would say. And one of my dream episodes of Haunt Weekly to do, and I just haven't done it because the amount of time is insane.
The research has been started.
It's been started multiple times. But about trying to find how to create a 25-year haunt. We actually have haunts in this industry that are pushing the half-century mark, if not over it. Mm-hmm. And we need to do what we can to protect those haunts. They're part of our history. The Jaycee era of haunting is crucial. If you don't have the Jaycee era of haunting, you don't have your mega haunts. You don't have Haunted Overload. You don't have 13th Gate. You don't have Not Scary. You don't have any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. It doesn't exist. The Jaycees pioneered this. Mm-hmm. And the commercial haunts and the home haunts, for that matter, kind of followed in the footsteps. Yeah. So if you are in that area or you know someone in that area, please give them a nudge, give them a wink, see if you can get them involved with the Portsmouth Jaycee. They are in need of new members, and so we can keep this wonderful tradition alive.
Right, and apparently there are employers who can sponsor members also.
Yes.
So talk to your employer if you aren't able to sponsor yourself.
Oh, and speaking of sad and heavy news, this is an article by Sina Mizrahi. Mirazi. Sorry about that, intrepid reporter from the North Virginia Mag. Excuse me. Like I said, post-COVID. But the North Virginia haunted house Shocktober is closing its doors. The long story short, too late, is that they needed... They are charity. They're run by the charity The Ark of London. Loudon. I have no clue. But it's an organization that serves people with disabilities, and basically the organization gets much of their funding through the haunted attraction. And it looks like basically they're losing their location.
Yeah.
They had tried to find an alternate location. They've been very busy on that, but they were unsuccessful. It seems to be a recurring theme this year. But they are going to try to continue, and they've already come up with something of an alternate. I don't think it'll be a full replacement.
Right.
But it is an interesting alternative. They're teaming up with the Ion International Training Center. It's a year-round ice rink in the area, which, I mean, I guess that you're far enough north that a year-round ice rink makes sense.
Yeah.
But they are going to have a Shocktober-themed haunt party sometime during season, and they've already got the band They Might Be Giants to perform a concert there. Now, if you listen closely, hang on. Listen carefully. You can hear the sound of Ellie perking up downstairs, running up, grabbing her keys, and driving to Virginia as fast as she can, because she's a huge They Might Be Giants fan, and I'm pretty sure she's already on her way.
Yeah.
We'll have to text her and let her know it's not for several months, though.
Yes, but tickets go on sale, I think it's at August 6th through the 12th?
Yeah.
For the event.
So, yeah, once again, if you're in that area, support an organization. Like I said, their haunt closing is not their fault. One of the things that's already come up in my research about how to run a 25-year haunt is owning the land or / building is a key step. And charities don't often have that luxury, which makes the fact that we have so many charity haunts that have gone on for so long all the more impressive.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that seems to be dying out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we lost Chinchubas not long after Hurricane, but no, shit.
3 years after Hurricane Katrina?
Yeah, well, about 3 years after.
2008?
Yeah, it'd be about 14 years ago. Motherfuck.
Yeah.
We're old.
Well, yes. I mean, it's not going to be too long until we're in that 25-year haunt range.
Yeah, I know.
So.
Anywho, moving on. But yeah, no, so if you're in the area and you like, especially if you like They Might Be Giants, I'd fucking get some tickets.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time to me.
And
I'm sad about cause.
A good cause.
Yeah, and I'm sad the haunt's closing. I don't think a party is any substitute for a haunt closing. But do what you can to support what seems to be a very good cause.
Yeah, maybe they'll find a place next year. All right, moving on.
Someone who did find a place.
Yes. Fear Farm Haunted Attraction has moved to Glendale, and this is in the Phoenix New Times, an article by Benjamin Leatherman.
Which, awesome name.
Yes.
That's a great name. Benjamin Leatherman. I would have that, I just have that embroidered on everything I own. That's a good fucking name, man.
Yeah. Anyway, they're moving from a 32-acre property to a 40-acre property, and they had been on their original property since the mid-90s, so for over 25 years, and they had all of these props and things, and when they moved, only 5 to 10% made the move, which survived it.
You know, and that's not a terrible shock, because you got to realize, since they started in the mid-90s, there wasn't a lot of this pre-made stuff that we have now.
Right.
I mean, really, in the 90s, if you wanted a haunted attraction, you had to build it yourself. You were doing it the hard way, you know? And so that's not a terrible shock that has always been their approach. I think they are... But yeah, basically, they're a 13-floor haunt. And they are moving not too far away, but they're moving to a larger property. It's 40 acres instead of 32, and they are building from scratch on a lot of the stuff because, as you said, only about 5 to 10% made the jump.
Right, and it's closer to the main road.
Yeah, it's closer to the main road. They tried to describe what they were talking about. I haven't the foggiest. I know Phoenix geography. I've only been to Phoenix twice.
Yeah.
Once just to the airport, and once I spoke at a conference there and spent about a week there.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Phoenix is hot.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently they have nothing but space there because their city blocks are like 10 miles long. That's not like the two things I can tell you about Phoenix. Oh, and I got a geocache there. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm done with things I can tell you about Phoenix. But yeah, no, this sounds like it might be a good move, especially in the long run. And what's interesting is they'd had an arrangement with a previous property owner that if the owner found a buyer, they would offer it to the haunt first. But otherwise, they were just allowed to hang there. Well, apparently serious offers for this land started coming in around circa 2020.
Right.
And now the offers have just gotten too much to ignore, and the owner is... Because there are other things on the property in addition to Fear Fair. There's a sports complex, apparently. And so they're just selling it. And
yeah. And, it's interesting to me that if you know that you've got a property that you want, why wait?
Well... They might have been waiting right now, especially since 2019, to let property values go down some.
Yeah, and 2020, there was this little thing that, wrecked everybody's life for a while.
I'm not going to fault anyone for not doing that in the last 3 years or so. Because between the batshit insane increase in property value, the difficulty for businesses getting loans in some cases, and then the pandemic...
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be mad at anyone that wasn't exactly in a property buying mood.
Yeah, that's fair enough. They're also going to put on an expanded midway concessions, games, entertainment, and encourage people to hang out and make a full evening of the trip.
That has been something that we have been seeing as the focus of a lot of haunts.
It's a good idea.
No, it's an absolutely, abjectly great idea. There is no codifiers, no modifiers needed. It is a hella good idea. Because here's the thing. Like, the mortuary locally, I know that's going to be a 10 to 12 minute walkthrough. They literally own the building and nothing else. They really can't do that.
Right.
And that's frustrating for me because that means if I'm going to the mortuary one night, I've immediately got to plan something else to do that night.
Yeah.
But I also know that if I'm going to Rise... That's a full fucking night.
Yep.
I'm going to be there probably from not long after opening until it's pretty much my old people bedtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they've got 3 haunted attractions, and they're adding a midway, they're adding a bunch of some shops and things, and that whole pavilion. They're going nuts there. They're doing some great stuff. So, yeah, Rise, full day. And we saw this in Houston.
Yes.
I had a lot of complaints about Houston haunts, and I stand by the complaints about the haunts themselves.
Yes.
But what they did well was the shit around the haunt in almost every case.
Yeah, basically it's where do you want to go and hang out with your friends all night.
Yeah, and we'll see a few haunts along the way.
Yeah.
But we're going to hang out at the fire pit, we're going to go shopping, we're going to get some snacks and some dinner,
See the band.
That's playing. Well, it's like you just ping pong, like the haunts are just one portion of the attraction. And I do think that's the way we're going because, even the longest haunts, say you keep them in the haunt for an hour. That's a really long fucking haunt for the record. Good job. Most people have a lot more time than that in their evening, especially on a Friday or Saturday night, especially teens, and which is a core part of the audience. So yeah, trying to find ways to keep that audience captive by choice, I guess is what I would say. It's a captive by choice audience. Is going to be crucial and important, especially moving forward. So yeah, I love this. I think this is good, and I'm glad that losing the land they were on did not equal death for this haunt, because we've heard that story so many times of haunts losing the lease or eminent domaining or something like that happening, and they're just done. That's it. That's how the haunt dies. I'm very glad that's not the case here.
Me too.
I think it's good. All right, speaking of good things, or at least interesting things. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how the hell I feel about this one. Escape the Madness is a new escape room in central New York. This is an article by Kaylin at WBIX 950 Radio. Ooh. But basically, it's being described. It's is being described as an escape room meets a haunted house meets a rage room. Which I'm just going to say right off the bat, I think your concept might be a little complicated.
Well, the rage room seems to be separate.
Yeah.
Because there's a separate ticket for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, they have a haunted attraction. They're also doing a rage room. And apparently they're incorporating horror-themed escape rooms, too.
Right. And it's an abandoned asylum, which, that's something that came up multiple times. Are people building asylum-themed haunts and escape rooms?
Yeah.
Which is complicated. One of the things I found interesting about this story is their escape room is only 30 minutes.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm down for this.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. We've done a lot of 5-minute escape rooms.
Yeah.
5 to 10 minute escape rooms. And those are fine.
Mm-hmm.
They're fun little, it's like a fun-sized Snickers bar.
Yeah, for whenever you're, waiting in line to go into a haunted house.
It's a little fun-sized Snicker bar. Kills a few minutes when the queue line is long. I feel this. I like this. It's a very different experience from a full escape room. Mm-hmm. Almost to the point I think I want to call them something different.
Yeah.
But, the concepts are the same. You solve puzzles, you leave the room, you just have a much shorter time frame. But that time frame changes the whole fucking experience.
It does.
A 30-minute escape room. I think you can get a pretty full escape room experience in that time.
Yeah.
And as someone who does enjoy escape rooms, and I'm looking forward to getting back to doing them, hopefully sooner rather than later, I think that 30 minutes is not a bad milestone.
No.
Because an hour is a long fucking time.
Yeah, well, and it depends on the escape room.
Exactly.
It depends on how complicated are your puzzles and how many rooms do you have to work through.
Yeah, okay, the Cutthroat Cavern at 13th Gate. Hour, fine. Don't care. Great.
I don't want to leave.
I never want to leave. I just want to lay on the beach and do sand angels all day.
Yeah.
I don't want to go anywhere else. That's just a great place. I just want to hang out there. And I would say the same thing for Spellbound, which is now also at 13th Gate. It was a Rise one, but now it's at 13th Gate. So there are definitely escape rooms that have filled the hour without issue.
Right.
But we've been in some escape rooms that's like, if this shit had ended 20 minutes earlier or 15 minutes earlier, probably would have been happier.
Yeah. Just
give us a slightly reduced rate and have it take 30 minutes instead of an hour. I would have been very happy with a lot of these. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think this is something we should be exploring. Just like, TV has 30-minute and hour-long episodes. It's what fits the show. So I think we should be looking at that as exact possibility with escape rooms.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on.
All right. So there's a new haunted attraction that's coming to North Charleston Brewery this fall.
This is wild.
Yeah, this is from News 2 and Tim Renaud.
I came from South Carolina. When did they get breweries in South Carolina? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Sorry. I left. The state I left 20 years ago is very different, apparently.
Yeah. So Southern Screams is going to be opening up in Holy City Brewing. So you can go with your family, eat, drinks, and go to a haunted house all in the same place. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. And
this is, they are doing Ashley Acres Asylum. So.
Well, okay, real quick, it's about Tim Renaud at News 2 in North Charleston. And this is North Charleston, South Carolina. I had to look up which North Charleston it was, because Charleston, I think, is second only to Springfield for how common the name is between states.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many North Charlestons are. I knew there was one in South Carolina. It turned out to be the one. I don't know if there's another. If you happen to live in North Charleston, reach out to us. HauntWeekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, and YouTube.com/HauntWeekly. I'd be interested to meet. Well, I actually never spent any time in North Charleston, South Carolina, so I can't say shit. Spent a fair amount of time in Charleston.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is an interesting idea. And I think this is something that could be tapped, pun intended, by a lot of large brewing companies, because you've got the space. Almost guaranteed, if you're a large enough brewing company, you've got the space. And there's nothing really stopping you from adding this type of attraction, especially a small one. So just a thought. What?
I was just thinking that Faubourg has plenty of space to put one.
Oh, no, Faubourg was my first thought, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Faubourg was my first thinking point on that, because that place I know they're a major brewery, and I know they're a major distributor, too.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure nearly all that space is used, but even if only like a 5% of that space is available.
Yes. But they also have the airplane hangars outside that are empty.
That's true.
because they are open and we can see into them.
Yeah, it's true. So they got options. That'd be an interesting idea for them. Mm-hmm. All right. Next story then.
Yeah.
Okay, Armageddon Expo is set to take over the famous haunted attraction Spookers. Now, this is from Leonard Powell at RNZ New Zealand. Mm-hmm. This is an interesting one. We've talked about Spookers a lot.
Right, and they've been on the market for a while.
Yeah, they've come up a lot. We talked, I can't remember what episode it was. We mentioned they were on the market. They were officially for sale. That was not that long ago, it doesn't feel like. But they were also the subject of a very popular documentary.
Right.
Which we did see.
Mm-hmm. And reviewed.
Yeah. They've been known as the best haunted attraction in New Zealand, which I guess is true because I can't name another.
Yeah.
No offense to any New Zealand haunters. If you are from New Zealand and you have a haunt that's not Spookers, well, you know to reach out at us. I would actually be curious to hear more about the haunter experience. Another thing we could find, we can get international haunters to talk about how the experience is different in other countries.
Yes.
That could be interesting.
Yes, we've tried to reach out to a few, but it's...
Well, one of the issues there is always time zones.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we tend to do the live recording Sundays at 8 p.m., and that is not a good time for anyone at a different time. So we may have to tweak or work on that somehow.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I haven't been giving a set time. But anyways, Armageddon Expo has purchased Spookers, and basically what they've said is they're keeping shit pretty much the same. Yeah. All the people who are working there now still have a job.
Right.
They have 120 people.
Right.
According to this article. Mm-hmm. And they're keeping everyone on board. And they say they're looking to build upon what Spookers has, not take anything away. They're adding D&D events.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I'm curious. I want to see where this goes. I'm not a huge D&D.
You have people who dress up in costume and pretend and live in a pretend world.
Oh, so we're doing a LARP event, basically.
Yeah.
We're not just D&D, we're doing LARP.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. But they're also doing theme months like Dracula and Necromancer. I mean, that could be a way to keep the show fresh for your locals. I know Spookers gets a lot of tourism business from, it was in the documentary. Yeah. They mentioned it at one point, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. But Spookers, this is a way to keep the locals interested and keep them coming back. What's the new season at Spookers? That could be an interesting idea for a haunt that's year-round, which Spookers is.
Right. And the new owner has been doing a Comic-Con style Armageddon Expo for 27 years. So he's in touch with that community and is trying to mingle the two, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. You know what? It's always a little bit sad whenever a haunt is sold. Mm-hmm. Especially when the owners were the founders, and that's one of the big deals about Spookers was the family that the people who founded it still owned it.
Right.
It's sad to see that end. It really and truly is. But if it's got to sell, and it did. Mm-hmm. They've been on the market for, like you said, a little bit here. If it's got to sell, I can't really think of anything much better.
Yeah, and the family is blessed off this, this meeting, and they are excited to see where it goes.
I think this is interesting, and I think we're going to talk about Spookers a lot more in the news. We've already talked about them a lot. They've been a repeating occurrence in the news for good fucking reason, I might add.
Yeah.
But I think they're about to get some additional slots, and I'm all here for that.
Yeah.
All right, next up.
Okay, so next up we have some HHN news.
Yeah, this is weird. I like this.
Yeah.
This is fun.
So the Weeknd...
The band. Or the person.
The person.
The musician.
Yeah. Abel Tesfaye is... So the Weeknd is After Hours album is getting an HHN house.
Yes. And I would like to say, I was confused when I first read this, because the first 3 times I read the story in the notes, I kept missing the fact the third E was missing in the Weeknd.
Yes.
And I was getting very fucking confused about what was going on.
I know.
Sorry, go ahead.
We're old and out of touch with music. We get it.
I actually know who the Weeknd is. That was the problem.
Yes.
I actually know this one.
I do know of them. This story is by Rob Arcand at pitchfork.com.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, the Weeknd apparently is a huge haunted house fan, wanted an HHN house for years, and is really happy that the music videos have inspired them to do sort of a trippy kind of look into his mind, is what he's
Yeah, I mean, basically, there's a quote from Abel Tesfaye, aka the Weeknd, that says, "I always wanted my own Halloween Horror Nights haunted house." Say that 5 times fast. As Halloween has always been significant to my music, so this is a total dream come to life. Kind of me being on NPR. Wait, don't tell me. I feel like my music videos have served as a launching pad for a collaboration like this. I cannot wait for people to experience this madness.
Yes.
And you've got to do that to the exclamation point.
Right.
The madness.
Yes, exactly.
Bring it up. So, yeah, no, I think this is interesting because we have not actually had an HHN house based on anything other than, to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the time we've been following it, every HHN house has been based upon a movie.
Yeah.
Or it's movie / TV, I guess. Stranger Things is TV, not movie.
/ character.
Yeah.
Popular character
from those things. Or from an original story.
Right.
I don't think, I cannot recall any that were pulled from a music. And if there was, it was probably before my time, so to speak. But
right. And I know that there have been other musicians who have done pop-up haunted houses and haunted experiences.
We talked about a lot of those
in the news.
Yeah. I think 2019 was a big year for those, right before pandemic shit, obviously.
Yeah, 2018, 2019. That's when we started seeing these.
Yeah, the Gorillas did
up.
one. Who else did one?
Didn't a fast food company do one too?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was.
Was it Wendy's?
Yeah, also Bacardi did one. Bacardi rum with the bats.
Yeah.
They did one. Which is funny. I love Bacardi, but never noticed the logo was a bat.
Yeah, I don't know how you missed that.
I have drank, because I'm usually drunk. When I'm drinking Bacardi, I'm usually drunk. I don't notice the bat.
Yeah.
There's your explanation. But yeah, we've seen a lot of musicians do these types of pop-up haunted houses, but this is a major deal as it's partnering with HHN.
Exactly.
This is taking that idea of the pop-up haunted house to a whole other level.
Yeah.
And, I mean, because, okay, I know HHN houses are short, and they're typically not, what's the phrase I'm looking for? They're very well built and very well designed, but they're
not full-length haunts.
They're not full-length haunts, and they definitely look like temporary structures.
Yeah, and
that's not knocks on them.
They're meant to be enjoyed together.
Yeah, exactly.
Not as separate.
Exactly. You're meant to go through a whole bunch and hit some of the scare zones and other stuff.
Right.
You're not meant to be in one haunt an extended period of time. That's not the point.
Yeah, but I mean, for a musician to get this kind of backing and exposure by having HHN behind them is huge.
What blows my mind, and I just had this epiphany in my own brain, is a lot of theme parks do their equivalent of Horror Nights. They do their own spooky version.
Right. We've talked about SeaWorld.
We talked about Not Scary Farm. SeaWorld's got one. Let's see. Disney does their not scary Halloween thing.
Yeah,
but that's
Six
not,
Flags does a scare night.
Yeah, basically most large theme parks that have any kind of autumn hours do this. And I find it interesting. The first time I hear about a partnership between a musician and one of these theme parks, it's Universal, which is not want at all for properties to license and make houses out. Their own catalog. Yeah,
now we do know that, like, Alice Cooper has had a haunted house that he's involved with for years.
Well, and House of Shock was started by one of the members of Pantera, quite famously.
Right. And Penn and Teller did a haunted house a few years ago that we reported on. But they weren't partnered, as far as I know, with any major...
No. Those have all been their own standalone things at the end of the day. And that's what's so unique about this is, like I said, the partnership between Universal, which I do not know what the Weeknd's label is, but I have a guess. I have a very good guess, I think. I believe it. I'm going to bet it's Universal Music Group.
Let's see.
Okay, Crystal's Googling this to see if I'm an idiot. Record labels. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sorry for the boredom while we figured this out. Okay, and it may be that XO is underneath Universal.
Yep.
Yeah, XO Records is one that's a subsidiary of Universal. I was right.
Yep.
Which, honestly, that's like the least surprising prediction I've ever made.
Yeah.
Of course it's Universal. It's all going to fly under that Universal. That might explain this, though.
Yeah.
It goes a little ways to explaining this. But still, this is interesting. And I'm a big fan of music videos in general. Grew up in the 80s.
Yeah, and we've done a whole episode about how haunts can be inspired by music videos.
Well, here's a haunt essentially creating an interactive 3D immersive music video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of cool.
That is. I'd be interested to hear what people have to think about it at all the places.
Anyway, final official story.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll have a few other things to talk about in a second, though.
Yeah.
Haunted Mansion headstone bookends and pins creep into the Magic Kingdom. Okay, I am a sucker for Haunted Mansion merchandise.
Yeah.
I just truly am. I always have been. This article is by Kate Francis at Walt Disney World, WDWNT.com. I can't remember what the name of the site is. It's not in the notes, and I forgot.
Sorry.
But anyways, basically, if one of the best parts to me about the Haunted Mansion is the macabre humor that runs throughout it.
Right.
And one of the sources of macabre humor is as you're going past a graveyard, all the tombstones have comedy things on them.
Yeah.
They're funny tombstones, which is kind of messed up. Like my favorite was Jonathan Blake stepped on the gas instead of the brake.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, the two that they're showing are Here Lies Good Old Fred, a great big rock fell on his head.
And
yeah.
Our dear departed brother Dave, he chased a bear into a cave. Bad idea.
Yeah. Bad idea, Dave.
It's always fucking Dave, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's always a fucking Dave.
Yeah, but they've also got so I went because they're available online as well as in the physical stores.
Yes.
So I went online, and in addition to the enamel pins and the tombstone bookends, they have T-shirts and a cake stand and
what stand?
A cake stand.
Cake. Oh, cake stand.
Cake.
I thought you said keg stand. I'm like, that's not very Disney.
No, it's not.
And also, how would you make a cake stand? No, a cake stand was something you did.
Yeah.
I was very confused for a minute there.
So, you know the ghosts that ride with you? This is how they got there. They needed a designated driver.
Yeah, so now we're playing by the rules of the TV show Ghosts, where whatever condition you were in when you die, you remain in the afterlife.
Yeah.
So if you were drunk/buzzed when you died, you remain that way after death.
Right.
If so, I've got a plan.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, this is some neat stuff. And because I glanced at it before we came on, like I said, I'm a sucker for Haunted Mansion merchandise. I think this is a great great way to start, and some very interesting items here. And I just love the humor. So I don't know if I'm getting any, but I recommend checking it out at the very least.
Yeah, and we have seen. We bought our first Halloween decorations for the house for the year-round house this weekend. So we're starting to see Halloween stuff in stores and starting to get excited about it.
Yeah, and that kind of takes me to another point. There's no news article on this, but multiple reports. Apparently, Home Depot put their animatronics online early, and apparently they were sold out within hours.
Yeah.
Like, poof, gone.
Yeah, well, there are Facebook groups on that whenever you are in them, as soon as somebody sees one online or at their local store, they put a code orange out, and everybody goes, yes, code orange.
I mean, it makes fucking sense. Come the fuck on.
You don't know how many code oranges I was seeing at our local stores when I was COVID positive, like 2 days after testing positive. And I couldn't fucking go.
Man, yeah, we were very careful with our COVID.
Yeah.
We followed CDC guidelines. I'm testing negative now. You're testing negative now. So we're all good. But yeah. It did suck. That was definitely during the no-go time.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that was interesting that happened. Do we want to talk about the Knott's Berry Farm situation real fast?
Let's just give a little hint of it.
Okay, yeah. Well, long story short, too late.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it wouldn't be too late that time.
No, not yet.
But anyways, Knott's Scary Farm, according to their own social media posts, have implemented a curfew for those under 18.
Yes.
17. 17 and under. So on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. And the reason was due to an incident which has not been very well explained in anything.
Right.
I've seen multiple reports, and one of the reasons we didn't put this in the notes is because A, it's not actually a haunted attraction, and B, there's so many unknowns about this, really. It's kind of frustrating.
We're getting a lot of reports from conflicting reports in the media and online, and from people that we know who have insight.
Yeah.
So we don't want to go into it too much because it may change by the time it gets to October.
And honestly, it may change before this gets published.
It may.
Because we're recording this on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't. So apparently there was some large-scale security incident, supposedly involving a fight of some stripe.
Yeah.
And they decided the best way to approach this, at least for the short term, was to put this curfew in while they sort things out.
Right. And also make chaperones. You have to have a chaperone now if you're 17 or under, which was not the case prior.
Yeah, and, I don't want to sit here and debate whether this policy was good or bad. I don't really know. But I also don't know if they had another option.
Right, because apparently several fights broke out, and some people are blaming a trend that has made the news in other states that's based off of TikTok. It's a TikTok fighting trend. But I don't know anything about that.
And I every time I hear about some kind of really stupid trend on TikTok or Insta or whatever, I remember the Tide Pod thing, where basically the Tide Pod challenge was a supposed thing for a long time. And the truth is, it was never a thing.
Mm-hmm.
The only people actually eating Tide Pods, it turns out, were senior citizens who were getting confused, who were getting dementia. They were the ones actually at risk. It wasn't teens eating Tide Pods. But by reporting on it so heavily and covering it and giving it so much press, it kind of did become a thing. That's the other reason I hesitate to talk about it at all, is because I don't want to use what tiny platform this is.
Yeah.
To elevate something that is ostensibly stupid and probably not actually a thing into a thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the reason we didn't put in the official news. And like I said, this one's got so many sources, I don't really know. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I really don't know where I would link to or from. What have you found?
No, I agree with you.
So anyways, on that note, I think we'll wrap it up a little bit early. News episodes often do. Mm-hmm. We appreciate your time. We're glad to be back. Glad that we have COVID licked, it seems, even if some of the symptoms are persisting. But you know what? I feel a lot better now. And hopefully I'm through the craziness now, too. So honestly, I'm looking forward to doing a lot more Haunt Weekly in the weeks to come.
Yeah.
So until next time, definitely take a moment, if you have not done so. Follow us at all the places you're supposed to follow us at. HauntWeekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Facebook.com/Haunt Weekly, and YouTube.com/Haunt Weekly. All great places to get more Haunt Weekly content. You can also find us wherever you get your podcast from. We're in pretty much all the places. Don't ask me. I don't handle distribution. That's some company named Buzzsprout. But until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And we'll see you all next week with hopefully just a regular, good old-fashioned, two of us having fun episode of Haunt Weekly. Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be.
See you next week.